And joining me live in the studio is Cornelia Meyer. She's an economist and commodity analyst and CEO at Meyer Resources. It's great to have you here with us, Cornelia. Now, before we get into energy markets, just how important is this meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping for investors and businesses globally?
It's really, really important because, as you rightly said, they're focusing on trade. And there's obviously the tariff woes. There's sort of half in 6 months into sort of having stopped the tariff wars. So that's that. And then it's about tech dominance, right? It's about who will dominate the tech world. Is it the US? Is it China? And it is also it's about Taiwan. And she said, don't push it on Taiwan very clearly yesterday. But it is also, and that's, I think, very important, Trump needs an off-ramp to Iran. And, the Chinese have a good relationship with Iran, and they're also together in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is a real South-South type organization. So they will discuss Iran. And China is, for more than 30% of Chinese exports of Iranian exports go to China. So China has to listen to what Iran has to listen to what China is saying.
Right, and this, of course, comes at a critical moment for energy markets.
Yeah.
Could this summit have any meaningful impact on global oil flows or sanctions enforcement involving Iranian crude?
Well, I think the one thing that's really important here is we need the Strait of Hormuz to open. And even if it opens today, it will take at least 7 months for ships to be in the right place and for a lot of the production that was shut in to come back in on. If you look at Qatar, they've lost 17% of LNG. That will take 3 to 5 years to rebuild. So yes, we need that to open, and probably having the US and China talking about this is a good thing.
And as you mentioned, China continues to buy the vast majority of Iranian oil despite US sanctions. How effective are sanctions in reality, and could Washington tighten enforcement further without disrupting global supply?
Well, the issue we have is most of Iranian crude goes to China. But for China, it's only 11% of the crude they import. So, they can import more from Russia, they can import more from other places, and the US will say you should buy our US oil. So that is that. And I think the sanctions, you mentioned the teapot refiners. They're not in the SWIFT system. They're not in the way the US deals with sanctions. They go via the dollar and via access to the dollar economy. Well, they do everything in one. So they can do more. They can do more than other people can, because the sanctions can't really reach them.
Right, that's very interesting. And meanwhile, the IEA says global oil inventories are being depleted at a record pace. How vulnerable does that leave the market heading into the peak summer season?
It really leaves the market very, very in bad. And the peak summer season is really in the US. But I look at it, most of the oil from Hormuz goes to Asia, and we see in many of the Southeast Asian countries real demand destruction. 4-day work weeks and so on. You look at China, you look at Japan and Korea. They had at the beginning of the war about 200 days worth of oil inventories. Well, they are rapidly depleted. The one place that's actually doing quite well is China, because they have such a vast reservoir of inventories that they have a long breath. They can play the long game.
Right, and we're also hearing warnings about demand destruction if high prices persist. At what point do these elevated prices begin to seriously hurt consumption and economic growth?
Well, they do hurt consumption, and you see it, and the transmission mechanism is obviously inflation. And you see it in the poorer countries. If you look at Southeast Asia, you see real, demand destruction. You see that another thing you should watch also with demand destruction is balance of payments, because if as an oil importer and you're not such a strong economy, you have to put so much money towards importing oil that your balance of payments get out of whack. So that's another thing. But the interesting thing is the IEA sees the demand destruction. OPEC just came out with its monthly oil market report. And the interesting thing there was they still think the demand will go up 1.2 million barrels a day this year. So we will have to see where it comes out. But it's always, the IEA is always low on demand growth. OPEC is always high on demand growth.
Cornelia, so great to have you here in the studio with us. Cornelia Meyer from Meyer Resources. Thank you. And that's your business update. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.